Most men believe that attraction is built through long conversations, explaining emotions, or saying the perfect thing at just the right time. Stoicism teaches something much more uncomfortable. Attraction is often decided in seconds, not through endless discussion. Sometimes it takes only two words to change the entire dynamic, not because the words themselves are magical, but because of what they reveal about the man speaking them. Most men talk too much when they want to be desired. They explain, reassure, justify, and fill silence with effort. In doing so, they reveal uncertainty, attachment, and emotional need. The female mind is exceptionally attuned to this. A woman is not captivated by information. She is captivated by position. Stoicism shows that the most powerful signal a man can send is not interest, but self-command. When a man speaks from self-command, even a simple remark carries weight. When he speaks from need, even a long explanation feels hollow. This is why some men say very little and spark intense curiosity, while others say everything and inspire none. The two words we are discussing are not compliments. They are not flattery, and they are not manipulation. They are words that instantly communicate boundaries, confidence, and emotional independence. When said at the right moment, they shift the dynamic without force. Most men get this wrong because they believe attraction is about adding more, saying more, showing more, giving more. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Attraction often grows when less is revealed, but more is implied. The female mind responds strongly to contrast. Calm versus chaos, certainty versus chasing, presence versus performance. When a man's words reflect calm authority instead of emotional urgency, curiosity triggers naturally. This is where most men sabotage themselves. They try to hook her by proving value, but value cannot be proven. It is felt. Two words, spoken from the right internal state, can communicate that your time is valuable, your attention is selective, and your approval is not guaranteed. That is what hooks her interest, not because she feels controlled, but because she feels emotionally challenged. This lesson is not about scripts, lines, or tricks. It is about understanding why brevity backed by certainty is far stronger than effort backed by hope. By the end of this discussion, you will understand why most men talk themselves out of attraction, why silence paired with the right words creates curiosity, and how stoic restraint turns simple language into influence. If you have ever felt like you were saying too much and getting less in return, pay attention, because once you understand this principle, you stop trying to impress and start naturally positioning yourself as the prize. Before diving deeper, remember that real transformation doesn't happen on YouTube. It happens inside a community. If these videos open your eyes, what is inside will rebuild your mindset completely. It is not just a course, it is a brotherhood, a private space where men master attraction, emotional control, and the psychology of power. You do not join for a month, you join for life. Every future course, book, and lesson is yours forever. No subscriptions, no limits. One decision changes your path. If you are serious about growth, discipline, and purpose, click the link below, join the community, enroll once, and grow forever. Now, the first principle, why fewer words create more attraction. The first truth men must accept is that attraction does not respond to volume. It responds to weight. Stoicism teaches that words only matter when backed by internal certainty. When certainty is absent, men compensate by talking more, revealing emotional need. Most men think silence is dangerous. They fear that if they do not explain, reassure, or entertain, interest will fade. This fear pushes them into over communication. They fill space with justification, attempting to control perception with language. In doing so, they remove mystery and replace it with predictability. A woman is not drawn by information. She is drawn by contrast between what is said and what is left unsaid. When a man speaks briefly and calmly, it signals that his emotional center does not seek validation. His words feel intentional, not reactive. Intentionality sparks curiosity. Stoicism teaches that self-command is felt before it is understood. Saying less allows your presence, tone, and boundaries to speak louder than explanations ever could. This is why two words spoken from certainty outweigh an entire paragraph spoken from need. Most men sabotage attraction by trying to be understood. They want to clarify intentions, avoid misunderstanding, and secure comfort. But attraction does not grow in comfort, it grows in space. Over explaining collapses space. Speaking simply and stopping restores it. The female mind is always scanning for emotional leadership, which is not dominance or control, but emotional stability. When a man does not rush to fill silence, he signals comfort with uncertainty. Comfort with uncertainty signals strength. High-value men understand this instinctively. They do not rush responses, chase clarity, or over-justify decisions. When they speak from alignment, not anxiety. Their words feel heavier, not because they are clever, but because they are grounded. Stoicism emphasizes restraint as power. Restraint in emotion, speech, and reaction. Restrained speech prevents emotional leakage, which turns attraction into reassurance seeking. When leakage stops, curiosity starts. Fewer words also compel the other person to engage internally. When everything is explained, there is nothing to process. Simple statements left alone create gaps, and curiosity is born there. Most men talk themselves out of attraction, not because they say the wrong thing, but because they say too much, too soon. Attraction responds not to effort, but to presence, and presence becomes powerful when undiluted by unnecessary words. This is why two words, backed by stoic self-command, can shift the entire dynamic, not because of what they say, but because of what they refuse to explain. The two words that signal self-command are simple and almost unremarkable at first glance, which is exactly why they work. Most men underestimate them because they are not flattering, emotional, or persuasive. Stoicism teaches that power rarely announces itself. It reveals itself through restraint. These two words communicate certainty without commitment, interest without attachment, and openness without surrendering control. Most men feel pressure to respond decisively when faced with a question, suggestion, or emotional probe. They rush to agree, reassure, or explain, and in doing so, leak need. These two words do the opposite. They slow the moment, signaling that your time, attention, and decisions are guided internally, not by emotional impulses. The female mind responds strongly because this introduces uncertainty without instability. You are not rejecting, chasing, or overcommitting. You are calmly holding your frame. Stoicism teaches that holding your frame is the highest form of leadership in any interaction. Most men destroy attraction by trying to secure certainty too early. They want certainty because it feels safe. Attraction, however, thrives in curiosity. These two words keep curiosity alive because they neither close the door nor throw it open. They leave space. They also communicate selectivity, implying that you evaluate options, priorities, and alignment before deciding. A man who evaluates rather than reacts signals value instinctively. This is not manipulation, it is self respect expressed verbally. Another reason these words work is that they remove emotional pressure. Agreeing too quickly or over explaining makes interactions heavy. Expectations form immediately. These words keep the interaction light while maintaining authority. Lightness combined with strength is rare, and rarity creates attraction. Many men fear these words make them seem uninterested, but in reality, they make a man appear unavailable without seeming distant. Stoicism teaches that availability must be intentional. Immediate availability diminishes value. Tone matters more than words. These words must be spoken calmly, without defensiveness, sarcasm, or over explanation. They are not a tactic to dodge commitment. They reflect a man who does not rush alignment. Spoken with calm certainty, they communicate confidence, protect you from premature investment, and allow time to observe behavior rather than promises. Stoicism emphasizes judging by actions, not words, and these words buy space to do exactly that. Their power is philosophical, not linguistic. They represent a mindset that does not chase outcomes, fear loss, or surrender direction to emotion. When a man speaks from that place, even simple language carries weight. That is why these words hook interest, not by manipulating emotion, but by showing a man who is not governed by it. The power of "will see" does not come from repeating it. It comes from timing and intent. Stoicism teaches that even the strongest principle fails when applied without understanding. Used correctly, these two words signal calm authority. Used carelessly, they sound evasive or uncertain. Understanding the difference is crucial. We'll see works best when momentum exists, but clarity is being rushed in moments where expectations are being pushed forward too quickly. Questions like, what are we? Where is this going? Will you be there? Are you serious? Do you want more? Create pressure, and pressure exposes emotional posture. Most men respond in these moments from fear of loss. That fear leaks through tone and explanation. When you answer with, "we'll see," calmly, you slow the interaction without rejecting it. You communicate that decisions are made from alignment, not urgency. Stoicism teaches that the man who controls pace controls the dynamic. Pace is leadership. However, these words backfire if used defensively. If you say, "we'll see," to avoid accountability, dodge responsibility, or hide uncertainty, it will be felt immediately. Women are highly sensitive to emotional mismatch. When words do not match inner state, attraction diminishes instead of strengthening. The Stoic use of "will see" comes from certainty, not indecision. You are not unsure. You are unrushed. There is an important difference. Uncertainty sounds hesitant. Being unrushed sounds grounded. The same words can convey opposite meanings depending on posture. Another moment when "we'll see" works strongly is when expectations are being placed on your time. Can you come tonight? Can you change plans? Can you always be available? Many men say yes too quickly to prove interest. Stoicism teaches that time is valuable. "We'll see" protects your time without confrontation. It communicates that your schedule is guided by purpose, not pressure. But if you use "we'll see" too often, it loses impact. High value men do not repeat phrases mechanically, they act from principle. The phrase works because it is rare and aligned. When overused, it sounds scripted. Stoicism rejects scripts, it favors presence. Another mistake men make is following "we'll see" with explanation. The moment you explain, you undo its power. Explanation brings back need. Will see must stand alone. Silence afterward is not awkward, it is intentional space. Space invites curiosity. Stoicism teaches that the strongest communication often ends early. When you stop speaking, the other person starts processing. Processing creates emotional engagement. Overspeaking shuts that process down. Finally, will see should never be used to manipulate or string someone along. The Stoic man values integrity. If alignment is missing, he eventually clarifies through action. The phrase is not avoidance, it is patience paired with observation. Used correctly, will see is not about control, it is about self command. It shows that you do not rush intimacy, do not surrender pace, and do not fear outcomes. This is why these two words work only when backed by character. Without character, they are empty. With character, they become powerful. When spoken from the right inner posture, we'll see does something most men never achieve through effort. It removes emotional control from the interaction without creating distance. Stoicism teaches that the one who controls their reactions controls the dynamic. These two words quietly reclaim that control. Most men try to influence behavior directly. They explain expectations, they reassure, they negotiate outcomes. All of these attempts place emotional weight on the interaction and invite resistance. When you say, "we'll see," calmly and stop, you remove that weight entirely. There is nothing to push against, nothing to argue with, nothing to manage. The female mind responds to this shift immediately, often unconsciously. When emotional certainty is removed, curiosity activates. Curiosity does not feel like pressure, it feels like movement. She begins to observe more closely. She pays attention to your consistency. She evaluates alignment rather than assuming access. Stoicism teaches that attraction deepens where freedom exists. Will see creates freedom. You are not promising, you are not withholding, you are simply allowing reality to unfold. That freedom is felt as emotional confidence, not indifference. Another critical change this phrase creates is reversed effort. When a man stops chasing clarity, the need for clarity shifts to the other side. She begins to test subtly. She asks questions differently. She invests more emotionally to regain certainty. This is not manipulation, it is natural psychological balance restoring itself. Most men never experience this because they fill every gap with reassurance. Gaps are where attraction lives. When you allow a gap to exist, her mind steps into it. When you eliminate gaps, nothing moves. We'll see also changes how you are perceived long term. You are no longer the man who rushes availability or certainty. You become the man whose decisions are deliberate. Deliberate men feel rare. Rare men feel valuable. Stoicism teaches that value is not asserted, it is inferred. Importantly, this phrase also protects you from overinvestment. It keeps your emotional center intact. You remain observant rather than reactive. When you do this consistently, your standards stay visible without being stated, and visible standards create respect. Most men fear that removing emotional certainty will cause loss. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Removing certainty reveals truth. If interest exists, it grows. If it does not, it fades quickly. Both outcomes are clean, both preserve dignity. What truly hooks interest is not the phrase itself, but the calm silence that follows it. Silence communicates comfort with ambiguity. Comfort with ambiguity signals strength. Strength invites attraction. When you say, "we'll see," and continue living your life without checking for reaction, something powerful happens. You show that your world does not pause for approval. That posture is magnetic because it reflects self-command. This is why these two words work without force. They do not push behavior, they invite response. And response is always more powerful than compliance. The greatest mistake men make after learning a powerful principle is turning it into a habit instead of a posture. Stoicism teaches that principles must be lived, not repeated mechanically. Will see is effective because it reflects inner certainty. The moment it becomes a routine response, it loses its weight. Many men, once they feel a shift in dynamic, try to recreate it deliberately. They begin saying, "we'll see," too often in moments where clarity is appropriate. This overuse shows intention, and intention leaks need. The female mind is highly sensitive to repetition that feels strategic rather than natural. High value men do not cling to phrases, they act from alignment. Sometimes alignment calls for decisiveness. Sometimes it calls for restraint. We'll see works only when restraint is genuine. When used to avoid vulnerability, responsibility, or honest direction, it creates distrust rather than attraction. Stoicism teaches that strength is adaptability rooted in principle. A man who always defers, delays, or withholds clarity eventually seems evasive. Attraction does not thrive on confusion, it thrives on balance. The same man who knows when to slow pace must also know when to lead decisively. Another way men lose power is by using these words reactively. When said with irritation, sarcasm, or passive resistance, "we'll see" shows emotional defensiveness. Defensiveness is weakness, not strength. The phrase must always come from calm neutrality. If emotion is present, silence is often better. Men also sabotage this principle by monitoring reaction afterward. They say the words, then watch closely for changes in tone, messages, or behavior. This internal checking brings back need. Stoicism teaches that once you act from principle, you release attachment to outcome. Attachment after action cancels authority. High value men say what aligns and then move forward with their lives. They do not wait to see if it worked. That detachment is what makes it effective. Another common mistake is using "will see" to maintain access when alignment is gone. Stoicism does not teach holding doors open indefinitely. When misalignment becomes clear, decisive action is needed. The phrase is not meant to prolong ambiguity. It is meant to prevent premature commitment. The power of these two words exists only when they are supported by a life with direction. If your life lacks structure, purpose, and discipline, restraint feels empty. When your life is full, restraint feels natural. Words follow life, not the other way around. Stoicism teaches that language is the echo of identity. If identity is unstable, language cannot compensate. High value men understand that attraction responds to who you are consistently, not what you say occasionally. The final lesson here is simple. Do not try to sound powerful. Be grounded. Speak less because you need less. Decide slower because you are not rushed. Respond calmly because you are not afraid of outcomes. When those conditions are present, two words can change everything. When they are not, no words ever will. The final and most important truth most men miss is that these two words only work when your life has gravity.